Let's do a paternity test. I tossed it out there like it was nothing. Amanda's face went chalk white. The clerk at the county clerk's office was still bent over the divorce forms, typing, not looking up. He didn't see her expression. I did. Her hand jerked. She tightened her grip on the divorce agreement on the table. What is that supposed to mean? I gave a small smile. It doesn't supposed to mean anything. You want full custody of the kid, right? If we get a test, the court paperwork will be easier. She didn't answer. Her mother, Nancy, let out a sharp snort from the chair next to her. What's there to test? You've raised him for 6 years. Like he's not yours suddenly? I looked straight at her. We'll know if he is or isn't when the test comes back. Amanda went even paler. The clerk finally looked up. You folks want a paternity test involved? I nodded. Yeah. She wants custody and wants me to pay support. I want to be clear on what the law says, based on facts. The clerk frowned. Normally you guys just negotiate support. No need for a test. I need one. I turned back to Amanda. You agree? Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Nancy got anxious. Test what? Test my ass. You've raised that boy 6 years. He can't just not be yours because you're throwing a tantrum. I shifted my eyes to her. Why are you so nervous, Nancy? What do you mean, nervous? My daughter fed you, cleaned up after you for 6 years, and you're going to pull this crap at the divorce office? I didn't respond. Fed me. Cleaned up after me. In that marriage, who took care of whom, she had to know. Mom, it's just a test, Amanda finally said, voice trembling. If he wants one, let him do it. Nancy stared at her. You, Mom. Amanda cut her off. It's fine. She forced a smile at me. Mark, relax. Of course he's yours. You're just paranoid. I smiled back. Then the test will put my mind at ease. The next day, I took the boy to a private DNA lab out near the medical district. 3 days later, the results were ready. I stepped out of the building with the envelope in my hand and stood on the sidewalk for a long time. Excluded as biological father. Probability, 0.00%. 6 years. I'd raised that boy for 6 years. He wasn't mine. ####1. Amanda hadn't decided to divorce me overnight. To be precise, she'd been warming up to it for about a year. Since the previous spring, any petty argument could set her off, and she'd throw the word divorce like a dish at my head. At first, I took it seriously, apologized, tiptoed around her, tried to smooth everything over. After a while, I realized something. Every time she said divorce, she'd wait. Wait for me to cave. To apologize. To buy her something. I learned fast. The next time she said it, I didn't bite. She got irritated instead. Mark Wilson, do you even love me? I say divorce, and you don't react at all. I asked, do you actually want a divorce or not? She froze for a second, then slammed the bedroom door and left. She didn't come home that night. The next morning, my phone rang before I left for work. Nancy. The moment I picked up, she started in on me. Mark, what's wrong with you? Amanda fights with you, and you don't comfort her? You just drive her out of the house. She left on her own, I said. She's your wife. That's how much room you've got in your heart. I didn't answer. 6 years of marriage had trained me well. In that household, if something went wrong, the guilty party was always me. If Amanda blew up, it was because I didn't know how to calm her down. If Amanda went on a spending spree, it was because I didn't make enough money. If Amanda refused to do any housework, it was because I didn't understand how tired women are. If Amanda snapped at my mom, it was because my mom didn't know how to act. And me? My effort was invisible. The mortgage was $2,000 a month. I'd paid a loan for 6 years. Formula, diapers, daycare, preschool, sports classes, pediatric copays. I paid it all. Amanda's paycheck? That was her money. She'd say, what I make is mine. What you make is for the family. I asked, so I'm just supporting you? She said it like it was obvious. You're the man. Isn't that what a man does? I couldn't find a comeback. Because my mother had said something similar. Mark, you marry a woman. You take care of her. She's your wife. You spoil her a little. So I spoiled. For 6 years. Until the night she didn't come home. I called, no answer. I texted, got nothing. Around 2 in the morning, restless, I unlocked her iCloud account on the laptop. When we'd gotten married, we'd synced our phones under the same Apple ID because she'd wanted it that way. If you love me, you'll share everything. Her device list showed her iPhone was at a place called Romantic Suites. I stared at the screen. Then I remembered. That hotel, Romantic Suites, off the interstate. That's where we'd stayed the night we got engaged. She'd said it was the happiest day of her life. Why was she there now? My thumb hovered over her contact, ready to call. Then I put the phone down. I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe she was there with her girlfriends, having a girls' night. Maybe work friends. Maybe a bachelorette party. But something inside me cracked. She came home the next afternoon. Makeup perfect. Mood good. Where were you last night? I asked. Out drinking with the girls. We went late. I just crashed at Jessica's place. I looked at her. You don't believe me? She glared. What's your problem? Nothing. I didn't want to fight. Fights never solved anything between us. But from that day on, I started paying attention. I noticed she put a passcode on her phone screen. She hadn't had one before. I noticed her text threads were always freshly scrubbed. Every night, somehow, the chat logs were blank. I noticed that sometimes she'd grin at her phone. Soft, private smiles. Smiles I hadn't seen aimed at me for a long time. What's got you in such a good mood? I asked once. Nothing. Work's been going smoothly. I didn't buy it, but I had no evidence. 3 months later, she asked for a divorce. This time, she wasn't yelling. She sat across from me at our kitchen table and spoke calmly. Mark, we should end this. Why? We're not compatible. More specific. She thought for a moment. I don't feel like you love me enough. I laughed. I don't love you enough? I hand over my entire paycheck. I shoulder the mortgage. I drop our son off at preschool. Pick him up. I'm the one who takes off work every time he's sick. Which part is not loving you? She frowned. Don't mix money into this. I'm talking about feelings. Feelings. Yes, feelings. I don't feel like there's any love between us anymore. I looked at her. Then who do you have feelings with? Her eyes flickered. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I stood. You want a divorce? Fine. We'll divorce. She froze, clearly not expecting me to agree that easily. What about the house? What about Jack? The house down payment was my parents' money before we got married. I've been paying the mortgage alone ever since. The mortgage was paid after we got married. That's marital property. She shot back fast. She'd clearly consulted someone. I let it go. Fine. You want a house? Maybe we can talk. You also want custody? Of course. Her tone was firm. And you'll want child support. You're his dad. That's your responsibility. I smiled once. Okay, let's go to the county clerk and file. She nodded, which brought us to that morning. The clerk's office, the divorce forms, and my offhand, let's do a paternity test. A throwaway line that blew everything open. 3 days after, I stood on the sidewalk with proof in my hand. I was not that boy's father. Hashtag 2. I didn't go straight home. I drove out of town, out where the city faded into scrubby fields and old oaks, and pulled onto a gravel turnout that no one used. I sat there, AC humming, staring at the report. Black letters, red stamp. Excluded as the biological father. But mostly I felt quiet, because part of me had known. Since the night she didn't come home. Since she started locking her phone. Since she smiled at a screen like she was in love. And I knew for damn sure it wasn't with me. I just hadn't expected the rot to go back 6 years. This wasn't cheating after the wedding. This was before. She'd been pregnant when she married me. I thought back to when we met. 7 years ago. I was 28. She was 24. A co-worker set us up. She's gorgeous and just got out of a bad relationship. Treat her right. Our first date, she showed up in a white sundress, hair curled, lip gloss on. When she smiled, it was like every rom-com I'd ever been dumb enough to watch had come alive. She told me she'd just broken up with her ex. He was unreliable. Totally broke my heart. I remember thinking, a girl like this deserves better. Deserves someone solid. So I became that guy. I did all the classics, flowers, dinners, picking her up from work, dropping her off at her apartment. After 3 months of slow, careful effort, she said yes. 3 more months in, she told me she was pregnant. We should get married, she said. Eyes shining. I was ecstatic. Guys like me, mid-level IT at a regional insurance company, average looks, parents in a small Ohio town, don't usually land women like Amanda. She was big city pretty, Instagram pretty. My parents were over the moon. My mom told everyone at her church, my Mark really did good. Beautiful wife, and we're going to be grandparents already. We scraped together a small wedding in Cleveland. No destination venue. No fancy downtown ballroom. Just a decent banquet hall next to an off-ramp. My parents emptied nearly all their savings to front the $80,000 down payment for a modest 3-bedroom in a suburb 40 minutes from downtown. Mortgage on my back. Our son was born a few months later. I named him Jackson Mark Wilson, Jack for short. I liked the sound of it. Strong, simple. I wanted him to grow up to say what he meant and mean what he said. 6 years later, that name felt like a punchline. The first year after he was born, I barely slept. I'd work all day, drive home, cook, and then be up half the night with a squalling baby. Amanda said she had postpartum depression, that she couldn't handle him. Nancy said, women go through a lot carrying a baby. She needs to rest. You help more. My own mom offered to come stay with us for a while to help. Amanda made a face. She's so old-fashioned. She doesn't know how to take care of a baby. She'll just get in the way. Mom came anyway, stayed a week, then left early because Amanda iced her out of everything. So I took on the night feedings, the diaper blowouts, the 3 a.m. rocking chair marathons. By the time Jack was a month old, I dropped 30 pounds. A coworker pulled me aside. Dude, you okay? You look sick. I'm Fina. Just up all night with the baby. He gave me a look I didn't understand then. Something like pity. Now I did. When Jack was a year old, he spiked a fever in the middle of the night. It hit 103.6 by 3 a.m. I shook Amanda. He's burning up. We should take him to urgent care. I'm exhausted, she mumbled. You go. I have work tomorrow. I went. I wrapped my son in a blanket and drove half awake to the ER. I waited. I filled out forms. I paid the $100 copay out of my account. We got home after dawn. I laid him in his crib with a cool washcloth on his head, then collapsed in a chair. At 7, my alarm went off. I dragged myself to work red-eyed. My boss dinged me for being 30 minutes late and docked my $100 attendance bonus that month. I didn't tell Amanda. She would have said, why can't you manage your time better? When Jack turned 3, he started preschool. Every morning, 6:30 a.m. alarm. Make breakfast. Get him dressed. Drive him to the preschool across town. Then drive another 20 minutes to my office. Afternoons, leave work right at 5, sprint through traffic to pick him up before late fees, then home to make dinner and sit with him through his little coloring homework sheets. Amanda? Work is stressful, she'd say. I need my evenings to decompress. Her decompressing looked like this. Nails done twice a month, hair appointments, outlet mall runs with her girlfriends for Starbucks and new bags, and endless scrolling on Instagram. Once I said, maybe pull back on the spending a little. She rolled her eyes. It's my money. I can do what I want with it. Why are you trying to control me? What about the family expenses? That's what your paycheck is for. I didn't know what to say. When Jack was 5, my mom visited again. She'd saved up from her cashier job and bought him a set of clothes from the discount section of a department store near their town. 2 little dinosaur t-shirts and a pair of jeans. $60, which to her was a lot. Jack ran around the living room, holding them up, delighted. Amanda glanced over. Mom, these are kind of tacky, she said. If he wears this to school, the other kids will make fun of him. My mom froze, smile still on her face, eyes dimming. I thought they were cute. It's fine. From now on, I'll buy his clothes. Later, I found those clothes in a trash bag in the garage. My mom sobbed quietly that night in the little guest room. I wanted to say something, to tell Amanda she'd crossed the line, but I knew what I'd get. Your mom is petty. $60 clothes. And she acts like she gave him the world. To Amanda, my mother was your mom, an outsider. Nancy was mom. Family. Always welcome. Nancy would come stay with us 1 week every month. Amanda would cook her favorite meals, ask about her back, her friends, her church choir. My mom's yearly visits, meanwhile, were treated like an imposition. Does she have to stay so long? Every time she's here, I'm the one who has to entertain her. It's exhausting. She's my mom, I'd say. And mine is my mom, Amanda would snap. It's not the same. When Jack turned 6, Nancy was hospitalized. Gallstones. Needed surgery. Amanda came to me. Mom needs $5,000 up front for the hospital. I'm short. I wired her $3,000. That was the amount I'd managed to put aside over a year of cutting corners and taking on side gigs fixing people's laptops. A few months later, my mom landed in the hospital with a bleeding ulcer. We can't just watch it. I need you to get checked in, the rural ER doctor told her. I called Amanda. Mom's in the hospital. I'm going home this weekend. Then go. It's your mom. I was hoping you could come. Maybe help me talk to the doctors. I don't have any PTO left. And honestly, it's your family's thing. You handle it. So I drove back to our little Ohio town alone. I slept in a hard chair next to my mother, filled out more forms, paid what I could, took calls in the hallway for work. Amanda didn't call to ask how my mom was, not once. I stuffed every resentment down. I told myself this was marriage. That in every couple, one person gives more. I was the man. I could shoulder it. That's what I'd been told since I was a kid. But now, sitting in my car with the paternity report in my hand, I felt like the world's biggest fool. 6 years. Rough math in my head came out to $220,000. Mortgage, about $145,000 so far. Basic living expenses I covered, around $50,000. The kid stuff, daycare, preschool, toys, trips to the children's museum, doctor visits, soccer league fees, at least $25,000. That doesn't include my time, my sleep, my energy, my 20s turning into my 30s in a haze of work and childcare. All of it for a child who wasn't biologically mine. And Amanda, and the guy she still called unreliable when she wanted sympathy. The ex who had broken her heart. He was the one who had given her that child. I stayed in that car until the sun shifted across the hood. Then I turned the key and drove to my parents' place. Not to the house Amanda and I owned. To the split level my parents had lived in for 30 years, back in our Ohio town, the one I'd grown up in. It was time to stop pretending I didn't know what had happened. ####3. My mom was surprised when she opened the door. Mark? Honey, what are you doing here? Just came to see you guys. I stepped inside. Dad was on the couch, watching the local news. He muted the TV when he saw me. Hey, son, you eating? Yeah. I sat down, suddenly aware of how tired I was. Mom brought me a glass of water and sat beside me, searching my face. You argued with Amanda again? Yeah. What now? She wants a divorce. Mom went still. Then she sighed. If that's what it is, then let it be. I've watched you for years now. You haven't been happy. I turned to her. You knew. Knew what? That I wasn't happy. She didn't answer. Dad lowered the remote. Mark, there's something your mom. And I never told you. I looked at him. What? We thought something was off the year you got married, he said quietly. My chest tightened. Of how? Amanda said she was pregnant and wanted to get married right away. Mom said. But you two had only been dating a few months. 3 months of dates, I said. Then 6 months in, we got married. Exactly. It was so fast. Mom hesitated. Your dad and I thought something wasn't right. But you were so happy, we didn't want to burst your bubble. What else? Mom swallowed. When Jack was born, when I held him for the first time, I just had this feeling. What feeling? That he didn't look like you, she said, almost in a whisper. What's that supposed to mean? His eyes and his ears, they're small things, we know. But his eyelids, his ears, they didn't look like either of you. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things, that genetics can be weird. But I never stopped wondering. I told myself it could all be from her side, she added quickly. I felt guilty even thinking it. I dug the DNA report out of my jacket and set it on the coffee table. Mom's hand went to her mouth as she read. Her face drained of color. You get a test? Yeah. And he's not mine. The room went quiet, the muted TV screen flashing silently. Then Mom broke down, sobbing into her hands. I knew it. I knew it, my poor boy. Dad didn't cry, but his hands shook so badly the remote slid from his fingers onto the couch. Dad, Mom, my voice came out rough. I need you to tell me everything you saw back then. Everything you remember. Mom wiped her face. She told me once about her old boyfriend. Which one? The one before you. Mom sniffed. She said she'd been with a guy she really loved, but his family didn't approve. He went abroad. She was devastated. When did she tell you that? Right after you two applied for the marriage license. I asked her why she was in such a hurry. She said something about wanting stability, that she'd learned her lesson with that guy. Said he wasn't reliable, but she still seemed so sad talking about him. Think about the timeline, Dad said quietly. You met her 7 years ago. Jack is 6 now. I did. 7 years ago. She'd told me she'd just broken up with her ex. That we could start fresh. If Jack had been mine, she would have gotten pregnant maybe 2 or 3 months after we started seeing each other. But if he wasn't, she'd already been pregnant when we met. Which meant she'd gone looking for a solid guy to marry while carrying another man's baby. A shudder went through me. Mom, did she ever mention his name? She nodded slowly. Once. She said they called him Drew. Drew. The name didn't trigger anything. Amanda had never said it to me, but there was one place I knew I might find him. On that drive back to the city, I realized I hadn't really been blind for 6 years. I just hadn't wanted to see. That was over. Hashtag 4. Amanda wasn't home when I got back to our place. Her car wasn't in the driveway. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I walked into the house we'd bought together and flipped on the lights. Everything was exactly how we'd left it the last morning we'd fought. Breakfast dishes in the sink, Jack's little sneakers by the door, Amanda's coat on the back of the chair. I went straight to the office. Amanda's laptop was on the desk. She'd always made a point of telling me not to touch her personal stuff. Everyone needs their privacy, she'd say. Do you want any reading through your texts? But right now, I didn't give a damn about her boundaries. Her MacBook woke at a tap. No password. Her iMessage account popped up automatically. I scrolled. Were chats. Group texts with her girls. Our family group with Nancy. Nothing. But one contact jumped out at me. A chat with a contact whose messages had clearly been deleted. No text history at all, just a gray default avatar. The name field said, Drew. I clicked. Empty. But the profile handle read, Drew C. 1990. Drew Carter, born 1990, if I had to guess. I searched his handle across the rest of her chats, in her address book, her email. Nothing. If she had him saved anywhere, it wasn't under his real name. There was one more place to look. Her photo library. She kept her phone locked, but she had iCloud backup turned on for her photos. The library on the laptop synced all of them automatically. I opened photos and scrolled all the way back. 7 years. 8. 9. Then I saw him. A selfie. Amanda with a guy next to her. He was handsome, sharp jaw, light brown hair, nice glasses, a clean, university boy look. His smile was easy. Her face was turned to his shoulder, eyes closed, grinning. Below the photo, she typed a caption. Drew, I'll love you forever. July 2017. That was a month before I met her. I clicked next. There were more photos. The two of them at a lake, at a cabin in the Smokies, at some hip coffee shop in downtown Cleveland. Then more intimate ones. Their faces too close. Arms around each other in bed. They'd been together a long time. 2 years, maybe more. 7 years ago, she had told me she had just broken up. 7 years ago, she called her ex unreliable. 7 years ago, she told me she wanted someone steady. A man she could trust. I was the backup plan. The placeholder. The guy she thought would work hard and not ask too many questions. And Drew, the unreliable ex, was the one she'd written, I'll love you forever under. I sat there, stare locked on the screen, every moment of the past 6 years lining up in my head with this new truth. The front door opened. Amanda walked in, keys jingling, smelled faintly of perfume and latte. When she saw me sitting at the desk, eyes on her laptop, her whole body stiffened. Mark, what are you doing? I swiveled the laptop toward her so she could see the photo. Who's Drew? She went white to the lips. Did you go through my stuff? I ignored the question and tapped the screen. Who's Drew? She glanced down once, quick and guilty, then away. That's old. It's in the past. How old? I asked. Before you met me? Before or after you got pregnant? She said nothing. Amanda, I said quietly, you were already pregnant when you met me, weren't you? That's crazy, she snapped, but her voice shook. I slid the DNA report across the desk. Read it. Her fingers fumbled the page open. Her shoulders slumped as she reached the conclusion. Mark, when did it happen? My voice didn't rise. I was past yelling. Before he went abroad? Her eyes flinched. Yes. So he knocked you up, I said, and then left the country. And then you met me. Tears filled her eyes. It wasn't like that. I didn't have a choice. You had plenty of choices, I said, each word measured. You could have told me the truth. You could have not gotten me into this at all. Hell, you could have made a different decision when you found out you were pregnant. I wasn't going to get rid of him. She snapped it at me, fierce through her tears. That's my child. Our child. Mine and Drew's. I just stared. She shivered, then kept going. I loved him, she said, voice breaking. We were in love. It was his parents. They hated me. They made him leave. He went to grad school in Canada. He said he'd come back when things settled down. And then I found out I was pregnant, and she choked. He disappeared. I finished. Stopped answering. Stopped calling. Stopped caring. Her eyes flashed. He cared. You don't get to talk about what you don't understand. I'd never seen that look in her eyes. Not for me. She was defending him. Even now, you met me while you were carrying his kid, I said. You started sleeping with me and then told me you were pregnant. You knew it was his, but you let me think it was mine. I didn't know what else to do, she whispered. I believe that. She hadn't known what else to do to keep the baby and her lifestyle and her chances at a nice house and a steady paycheck. She found me. It all fit. And last year, I asked, when did Drew come back? He moved back from Canada last summer, she said. I thought back to last year's changes. The locked phone, the clearing of chats, the late-night girls' night at the hotel where we'd once stayed as an engaged couple. You started seeing him again, I said. She didn't deny it. And Jack, he doesn't know, she whispered. What was the plan, Amanda? Divorcing me, getting custody, collecting child support, and then moving in with Drew and introducing him as Uncle Drew for a while. Mark, it wasn't like that. It's exactly like that, I said. She clenched her fists. I was going to tell you. Eventually. I just... 220 grand, I said. She blinked. What? That's roughly what I've spent in 6 years. Mortgage around $145,000. Household expenses around $50,000. Jack's costs, daycare, preschool, soccer, doctor visits, kids' classes, another 25. 6 years of my life and my money. You owe me. Her mouth dropped. You're seriously counting like that? Why wouldn't I? You're his dad. You raised him. That's what dads do. I'm not his dad. He's called you dad for 6 years. Because I thought he was mine. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. The front door opened again. Nancy walked in, grocery bags on each arm. What the hell's going on? She said. The neighbors can hear you down the street. She saw the photo on the laptop, the report on the desk. For a fraction of a second, something flitted across her face. Good timing, I said. I have a question for you. What question? You knew Jack wasn't mine, didn't you? Color flushed her cheeks. What kind of nonsense? I got a paternity test. I held up the report. If you want to read it, be my guest. She glanced at it and looked away quickly. Test schmest. You raised that boy. He's yours. Nancy, I said, did you know from the start? She pressed her lips together. I'm asking you a question, I said. You don't get to talk to me that way, she snapped. It's all in the past. The important thing is the kid. He's innocent. And I'm what? I asked. Guilty as charged? She faltered. You knew, I repeated. When she told you she was pregnant, you knew it wasn't mine. Didn't you? Her face reddened. Don't push me, Mark. I'm not pushing, I said quietly. I'm just asking for the truth. Silence stretched. Finally, she whispered, yes. I knew. When Amanda told me she was pregnant, she also told me Drew was leaving. I wanted to figure things out, but I knew what that meant. She was going to be alone, with no husband, no father for the baby. Nancy's eyes flashed. I'm her mother. You think I'd just sit and watch? So you told her to hook a steady guy, I said. Find someone who'd take care of her. Someone dumb enough not to ask too many questions. You were a good man, she said defensively. A decent man. Hardworking. You wouldn't treat her badly. What was I supposed to do? Let her struggle? Let my grandson grow up without a father. He's not my son, I said. He's my grandson, she shot back. You know what I am? I asked. I'm the idiot you picked to clean up someone else's mess. Mark, we didn't mean. You didn't mean to what? I asked. Didn't mean to hurt me? You sat there for 6 years watching me throw everything I had into that kid, into this house, into this family, and you said nothing. You cashed my checks. You let your daughter treat my mom like trash. And now you want to talk about what you didn't mean to do. Nancy opened and closed her mouth. Amanda, I said, turn to my wife. Tell me something. Did you, or did you not, lie to me on purpose? She flinched. Elite. You lied, I repeated. You let me sign that birth certificate. You let me carry Dad on my shoulders for 6 years. You let my parents love that boy as their grandchild. You let my mom spend money she didn't have on him. You let me give you everything. And you thought what? That it would never come out. I thought, she swallowed. I hoped it wouldn't. I let out a breath that felt like it had been stuck in my chest for 6 years. Nancy, I said, looking at her again. You both owe me. She stiffened. We don't have that kind of money. You had the guts to steal 6 years. You find the guts to pay for them. She sank into a chair. I picked up the DNA report. I'm pressing charges, I said. I'll sue to recover the money I spent raising someone else's child. We can either settle, or we can all see each other in court. I walked past them. Behind me, Amanda called out, "Mark, if you walk out that door, what about Jack?" I paused. "He has a father," I said. "His name is Drew Carter. Go find him." "He's called you dad for 6 years," she sobbed. "Haven't you just erased that?" "I'm not erasing the kid," I said. "I'm erasing the lie." Then I left that house. Behind me, the door clicked shut on 6 years of my life. 6 years of lies. 6 years of being the fool everyone counted on. That part was done. #5. I checked into a cheap hotel near my office and stayed there. The next few days were noisy, my phone vibrating on the nightstand every 30 minutes. Amanda called. Nancy called. Some of my colleagues even tentatively texted, clearly having been told their version of what happened by Amanda. I didn't pick up my phone. I didn't respond to texts. I knew exactly what they would say. "Don't be so harsh. She made a mistake. Think of the kid." So I shut them out and started doing what I should have done years ago. I wrote things down. 6 years of financial records spread out over that small desk. Bank statements, mortgage bills, receipts, daycare invoices. Mortgage, $2,000 a month for 72 months. $144,000. Household expenses I paid, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance. Averaged about $700 a month as my share of what wasn't split with her. Call it around $50,000. Jack's costs, daycare, then preschool, then aftercare, sports clubs, doctor visits, clothing. The ones I paid for roughly another $25,000. Total, about $220,000. I booked a consultation with a family law attorney downtown, James Zhou, a 40-something Asian-American lawyer whose online reviews called him ruthlessly practical in divorce cases. He listened to my story, not interrupting, his face unreadable. When I finished, he leaned back. "Mr. Wilson, I've seen a few cases like yours. How do they turn out?" I asked. "Hard. The law in Ohio, and most states, assumes that a child born during a marriage is the husband's. If there's a DNA test that proves you're not the father, you can challenge that presumption. But because you've acted as the legal father for 6 years, you do have obligations." "I'm not looking to hurt the kid," I said. "I just don't want to keep paying for someone else's child." "The key here is fraud," he said. "If we can show that your wife knew the child wasn't yours and intentionally misrepresented that, causing you to take on financial obligations you otherwise wouldn't have, you can sue for unjust enrichment and get some of that money back. Potentially a lot. How do we prove that?" "A confession helps," he said dryly. "Text messages, emails, witnesses, anything that shows she knew and decided to lie anyway." I thought of Nancy in my living room. "I have a recording." His eyebrows went up. "Of what?" "Of Amanda and Nancy admitting they knew. Of them describing, in their own words, how they'd let me raise a child they knew wasn't mine. I'd hit record on my phone before confronting them. I didn't know why I'd done it. Some survival instinct, maybe. I dropped my phone face down on the shelf by the hallway. Microphone pointed at the living room. I pulled out my phone and hit play. James listened silently. By the time Nancy said, "When Amanda told me she was pregnant, she also told me it was Drew's child. But I wasn't going to let my grandson grow up without a father." He was nodding slowly. "This is strong," he said when it ended. "We can work with this." "What can I get back?" I asked. "Realistically, we can't get blood from a stone. If she doesn't have assets, it's a matter of how much we can garnish or collect. But on paper, we can absolutely argue to recoup at least a substantial portion of what you spent raising someone else's child. Especially since this wasn't a one-time lie. It was sustained fraud over years." He tapped his pen. "Do you know where the biological father is?" "I've got a name. Drew Carter," I said. "Born 1990. He moved back from Canada last year. If we can find him, we can join him to the suit," James said. "Biological fathers have legal obligations. You can claim you were, essentially, an involuntary surrogate parent, forced into the role under false pretenses, and that he should reimburse you for his portion of those expenses." I imagine his face from the photos. His easy grin. "I'll find him," I said. Finding him took 2 days. I combed through Amanda's old photos again. In one, Drew and Amanda stood in front of a coffee shop sign. "Been there." I recognized it. Downtown Cleveland, corner of 9th and Prospect. I drove there on my lunch break. The shop owner was a middle-aged woman with a tired smile and a giant iced coffee. I ordered something I barely tasted, then pulled out the printed photo. "Ma'am," I said, "have you seen this guy around here? He used to come with my friend." She squinted. "He looks familiar. We have a lot of regulars. He might have been one." "No clue now. Do you have a loyalty program?" I asked. "Like a punch card and app?" She hesitated. "We do. But I can't just hand over customer data." "I get that," I said quickly. "I'm not asking to snoop. I'm trying to find him. It's about a kid." Her expression softened slightly. "I can't give you his info," she said. "But if I find a phone number, I can text him that someone's looking for him and give him your number. That's all I can do." "That would help," I said. I left my number. That evening, my phone buzzed with an unknown Cleveland number. "Mark Wilson," a man's voice said. Low, cautious. "Yeah, this is Drew." I stepped out into the hotel hallway. "Drew Carter?" A pause. "Who are you?" "I'm Amanda's husband," I said, then corrected myself. "Soon-to-be ex-husband." Silence. "You and I need to talk," I said. "It's about your son." His breathing changed. "My what?" "You heard me. Meet me tomorrow." "Bean." "There, downtown. 2 p.m. He hesitated. "Why would I?" "You either meet me," I said, "or I go straight to court with your name and every photo I have." He was there at 1:55. He looked like the man in the photos, just older, sharper around the eyes, wearing a designer jacket and a watch worth more than my first car. "Mark," he said when I walked in. "Drew," I said. We sat. Up close, I could see why she'd fallen for him. He had that polished confidence people pick up when they move away, get degrees, land big jobs. "How much has Amanda told you?" I asked. He stared into his black coffee. "She told me she had a kid. That he was probably mine." "Probably," I repeated. "Goo." "I didn't know," he said. "Back then, she didn't say anything. Not until last year. When you moved back from Canada," I said. He flinched. He wasn't surprised I knew. "She told me she married you," he said. "That the kid thought you were his dad. And you just what? Looked the other way." I asked. He stared at me. "I was married," he said. "In Toronto. My wife didn't know about any of it. I told Amanda I'd try to help. I didn't know how." "How many years have I raised your son?" I asked. He swallowed. 6. "How much money do you think it cost to raise a kid for 6 years?" I asked. "I don't." $220,000, I said. "Roughly. Food, clothes, health insurance, daycare, preschool, soccer, mortgage for the roof over his head. 6 years of my life. Do you feel like you owe me anything?" He winced. "I didn't know. I swear to God, man, I didn't know he even existed until last year." By then, he trailed off. "By then, it was inconvenient," I said. "You had a whole new life. Wife. Career. Little secret back in Cleveland, but that's her problem, right?" His jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair," I repeated. I leaned forward. "You abandoned her pregnant and skipped town. She hunted down a guy stupid enough to marry her and raise your baby. You found out 6 years later and kept your comfortable life. How much fairness do you figure I owe you?" He looked like he wanted to punch me, or himself, or both. "What do you want?" he said finally. $43,000, I said. He frowned. "What?" "We're going after Amanda for $110,000, I said. "Half of what I spent. The other half is on you." $43,000. "You start paying now." "I can't just..." He let out a humorless laugh. "I can't just write you a check for 43 grand. I don't care if you pay it all today or over 3 years, I said. "But you're paying it, and you're signing an acknowledgement of paternity. On paper, for the court." He paled. "If my ex finds out, that's between you and your ex," I said. "I'm not going to chase you around for your drama. I only care about 2 things. You admitting you're his biological father, and you paying your share. No court is going to make me pay you," he said. "They'll say I'm the biological father, not the legal one." "Maybe not," I said. "Maybe they'll say I was the father on paper. Maybe they'll say the fraud is all on her. But you and I both know who created this mess. You think I won't drag your name onto the record? You think I won't make sure your nice, tidy life hears about your college sweetheart and the son you left in Ohio while you played house in Canada?" He stared at me. "You do that?" he asked. I held his gaze. "Wouldn't you?" The silence stretched. He exhaled, like something inside him had given way. "I can pay half," he said hoarsely. Over time, if we put it in writing. But I need you to keep my name out of it. Out of court. Out of any official filing. My parents, he shook his head. They'd never handle it. I don't make promises I can't keep, I said. If my lawyer says we can keep your name off the public record, we will. If not, you'll be contacted like anyone else. He thought about it. Fine, he said. I'll sign. I'll pay. Just don't blindside me. We met again the next week in James's office. Drew signed an acknowledgement of paternity and a private repayment agreement. $43,000, installments over 3 years, to be paid directly to me. I didn't feel triumphant watching him sign. I felt tired. He was owning something he should have owned years ago. The rest, I would take up with Amanda. ####6. Amanda finally stopped calling me. Then my phone buzzed one evening with a FaceTime request. Not from her. From a name that flashed on my screen, Jack. For a second, it locked my lungs. My thumb hovered over decline. Then I accepted. His little face filled the screen. He was 6, missing a front tooth. Hair messy. My heart pulled hard in my chest. Dad, he said. It cut through me like a blade. Hey, buddy, I said, forcing my voice steady. Daddy, when are you coming home? He asked. There it was, the question I'd been avoiding. I swallowed. Things are complicated right now, I said carefully. Grown-up stuff. Did I do something wrong? His eyes were big and wet. Mommy said you didn't want us anymore. I shut my eyes briefly. Of course she did. You didn't do anything wrong, I said. Not one thing. This is not your fault. You hear me? He sniffled. Then why aren't you home? Because your mother lied to me for 6 years. Because I let her. And because if I walked back in that door like nothing had happened, I'd be lying to you too. Sometimes, I said slowly, grown-ups make mistakes. Big ones. And sometimes they have to fix them. And it takes a while. Are you mad at me? He asked. No, I said immediately. No, never at you. Do you still love me? He whispered. My throat closed. Yes, I said. I care about you a lot. Always. His face crumpled. Then come home. Please. I wanted to say yes so badly my chest hurt. But the image of the DNA report flashed in my mind. The sound of Nancy's voice saying, I knew he was Drew's from the start. If I went back now, everything that happened would become my burden to carry in silence forever. No, that door had closed. I can't come home, I said. Why? He sobbed. Because the house stuff, the grown-up stuff, it's changing, I said lamely. But I promise I'll see you. Okay, I'll visit. When? He demanded through tears. Soon, I said. I need to figure some things out. Amanda's voice came faintly from the background, then got louder. Jack, give me the phone, she said. He clutched it tighter. No. Jack. Her tone sharpened. He reluctantly handed it over. The camera flipped to her. Happy, she said bitterly. He's been crying about you for a week. You told him I didn't want him? I said. I told him the truth, she snapped. You left. You won't come home. What else can I say? You could say it's between you and me, I said. You cannot dump this on a 6-year-old's head. At least I'm talking to him, she shot back. You're just hiding in some hotel, playing the victim. I'm doing what I have to do, I said. For myself. And you're punishing a child in the process, she said. He didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask for this. There it was. The line I knew would come. He's innocent. He is. So am I. I told you already, I said. I'm not punishing him. I'm refusing to keep letting you punish me. You're his dad, she said. In every way that matters. DNA doesn't change that. It changes everything, I said calmly. Legally, emotionally, financially. You don't get to pull the dad card only when it's time to pay bills. You really want to drag me to court? She asked. Over money? I'm not dragging you anywhere, I said. You walked there yourself 6 years ago when you lied to me. A week later, after repeated texts from Nancy begging for a decent conversation, I filed suit. James drafted the complaint and filed it in county court. We asked for $110,000 in reimbursement from Amanda for fraudulently inducing me to assume parental responsibilities, additional damages for emotional distress, termination of my legal obligations to Jack. I attached the DNA report, the recording, the financial records. James was blunt. In practice, the judge may not give you everything we're asking for, he said. Courts really don't like undoing paternity, especially when a kid is involved. But the fraud here is egregious. The recording helps. A lot. I nodded. Whatever we could win, I'd take. Whatever we couldn't, I'd move past. I'd learned the highest cost wasn't the money. It was the feeling of looking at your entire adult life and seeing just how much of it had been a lie. #7. We had our first pre-trial conference scheduled when Amanda showed up at my hotel. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Mark," she said in the hallway. "We need to talk." "I've got a lawyer for that," I said. "I can't afford one," she said. "Not with you coming after me for that much. That's not my problem." Her eyes filled. Could you just listen? 5 minutes. Please." Against my better judgment, I opened the door. She sat on the edge of the chair, wringing her hands. "I know you hate me," she said. "I don't know what I feel," I said. "What do you want? Can we settle this quietly?" she asked. "Out of court. What would quietly look like?" I asked. "I'll agree to whatever you want with the house," she said. "You can have it. I'll give up any claim." I stared. "You love that house." She gave a broken laugh. "Not as much as I love not having my entire life dragged through the mud in court." "You're worried about your reputation," I said. "Not about what you did." "I know I was wrong," she said urgently. "I know, and I'm willing to pay. I just can't pay everything. Not all at once. I don't have that kind of money. Please, Mark, I'm begging you. Don't do this to me. You already did this to me," I said. "You gambled with my life. I'm just collecting my chips." She took a deep breath. "I'll pay you back," she said. "Every penny I can. I'll set up a payment plan. You can have the house. Just don't take me to court. And don't ruin Jack's view of me. Please. We'll need it written down," I said. "Every term. Signed, notarized." "I'll sign anything," she whispered. "But one thing, always one thing," I said. "Don't tell Jack the truth," she said. "Not now. He's too young. It'll destroy him." "He's already being destroyed," I said. "You don't understand," she said. "All he knows is you. You can't just take that away from him." "You already took his right to the truth away when you lied," I said. "You made that decision." "Then let me fix it," she pleaded. "Let me decide when to tell him. Not you. Please." I thought of his little voice on the phone. "Do you still love me?" "You have 3 conditions," I said, "if I'm going to agree to settle." She looked up quickly. "Anything. 1, the house is mine. Free and clear. You sign off on the deed." "Yes." 2, you agree to repay $110,000. However long it takes. With a written schedule. With a co-signer. Your mom, if she wants to guarantee it." Her face tightened. "That's a lot, Mark. It's half of what you cost me," I said. "You and your mom could figure out how you want to split it." She glanced away. "Okay. And 3, I said, Jack hears the truth from us. Now. Not 10 years from now. Not when it comes out by accident. Now." "No," she said instantly. "Absolutely not. Then we have nothing more to talk about," I said. "You can't ask that of me," she said, horrified. "He's 6 years old. And I was 28 when you did this to me," I said. "You didn't think I was too young." She flinched. "He's happy," she whispered. "He has a dad. If you say this, if you make us do this, you'll ruin that." "That dad died the moment I saw that DNA report," I said quietly. "The lie died. I'm not going to play the villain in his story forever when the real story is that you lied to both of us." "I can't tell him," she said, shaking her head, tears streaming. "I can't look him in the eye and say that." "Then I will," I said. "Mark, quit saying my name like I owe you something," I said. She stared at me, breathing hard. "Give me 3 days," she whispered. 3 days to think about it. "You have 3 days," I said. "Then I tell my lawyer to go ahead with everything." 3 days later, she texted. "I'll do it," she wrote. "All of it. #8. We signed the settlement paperwork with James as a witness. Amanda agreed to give up any claim to the house. Repay $110,000 over 3 years, with Nancy as co-signer. Agree that I would have no further financial obligations toward Jack. Sit down with me and tell Jack exactly who his biological father was. We filed the agreement with the court along with consent paperwork terminating my parental rights and obligations. I didn't feel triumphant when the judge approved it, just exhausted. Then came the worst part, telling Jack. Amanda had moved out of our house into a small 2-bedroom a few blocks away. Jack's school and routine barely changed. Mine changed entirely. One gray afternoon, I went to their apartment. Jack was at the coffee table, doing homework, little legs swinging under the chair. He looked up, and his face lit. Dad! He ran at me, full speed. I crouched, and he slammed into me with a hug. Hey, buddy. You came, he said. Are you moving back? Amanda hovered by the kitchen, a ghost. I swallowed. Jack, I said. I'm here because we need to talk. Me and Mom both. His smile faded. Am I in trouble? No, I said quickly. You're not in trouble. Come sit. We sat on the couch, Jack in the middle, me on one side, Amanda on the other. He looked from one of us to the other. You know how I told you grown-ups were dealing with some things? I began. He nodded. One of those things, I said, is that I found out something important. About when you were born. He cocked his head. What? You know what a biological dad is? I asked. Like, the man whose body helps make a baby? Like in a science book, he said. Yeah, I said. Like that. He stared at me, waiting. When you were born, I said slowly, Mom and I were married. Everyone thought I was your biological dad, including me. I believed that until recently. But the truth is, I'm not. He blinked, then frowned. What does that mean? It means that the man who helped make you, the one whose genes you have, is someone else. His little face crumpled in confusion. So, you're not my dad? He whispered. The words felt like broken glass in my throat. I've been your dad in every way that matters, I said. I've loved you, taken care of you, watched you grow up. That's real. But there's also another man out there. His name is Drew Carter. He's the one who is your biological father. Jack looked at Amanda. Mom. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. It's true, she said hoarsely. I should have told you. I should have told both of you a long time ago. I was scared. I didn't want to lose him. She jerked her head toward me. I didn't want to hurt you. You lied, Jack said. Amanda flinched. But you're my dad, Jack said, spinning back to me. You are. You taught me how to ride my bike. You make the best pancakes. You take me to the park. I did those things because I love you, I said. Then why are you leaving? He shouted suddenly. If you love me, why are you leaving? Because staying would mean living a lie he was old enough to see through one day. Because I deserve better. Because he deserved the truth. I'm not leaving because of you, I said, my voice cracking. I'm leaving because of what happened between me and Mom. Grown-up things. Grown-up mistakes. He sobbed. If I say sorry, will you stay? It's not your fault, I said. You were never the problem. Never. I don't care whose body made me, he cried. You're my dad. I want you to be my dad. I couldn't breathe. Amanda whispered. Are you happy now, Mark? This isn't about my happiness, I said without looking at her. This is about telling him the truth. Because he deserves it. She said nothing. I turned back to Jack. I'm not going to live here anymore, I said. I won't be the one to give permission on school forms, and I won't be the one the judge calls your legal dad anymore. He sobbed harder. But what I feel for you doesn't just switch off, I said. I'll always care about you. I'll always be grateful for the time we had. But I can't be your dad on paper anymore. That's not fair to anybody. He hiccuped. I don't want another dad. I know, I said. Do you still want me? He whispered. Yes, I said. As a kid I care about. As someone I hope grows up kind and strong and honest. He sniffed. You said to be honest. I did, I said. Do you remember when I told you that? That lying has consequences. He nodded weakly. This is what I meant, I said, my voice low. When grown-ups lie, sometimes the truth comes out later, and it hurts even more. Please don't ever do that to anyone. Not in your life. Not the way we did to you. He wiped his eyes on his sleeve, sniffling. I won't, he whispered. I pulled him into a hug. He clung to me with all his strength. I memorized the weight of him, the way his small arms wrapped around my neck. Then I let go, and I walked out. His sobs followed me down the stairs and into the parking lot. I sat in my car with my hands on the steering wheel until the sky started to darken. I'd done the hardest thing I'd ever done, and I still didn't know if it was right. But I knew this. I wasn't going to live the rest of my life as the supporting character in someone else's lie. ####9. Time passed. Amanda and Nancy made payments. Not always on time, not always in the full amount, but James stayed on them. Garnishments, payment plans, legal pressure. Drew made his payments too. Quietly, on schedule. Within 3 years, they'd paid back almost all of what we'd agreed on. I didn't blow the money. It went where it always had. The mortgage, my parents' medical bills, my savings. I kept the house. It was the one solid thing I'd gotten out of the marriage that hadn't turned to ash in my hands. I didn't date for a long time. My coworkers knew I was divorced. I told them the official version. We were incompatible. She cheated. It got messy. Nobody wanted to hear the uglier truth, and I didn't feel like telling it. My parents knew the full story. My mom cried for a long time. For 6 years, I thought I had a grandson, she said one night, holding a mug of tea like it was the only thing tethering her. And he's not. He was, I said gently, in all the ways that mattered. You loved him. You treated him like your own. That's real. He's gone, she said. He's out there with those people. Mom, I said, they're still his family. Whatever else they did. But he's going to grow up hearing the truth, at least. I made sure of that. She sniffled. I still see him in my sleep, running up to me. I do too, I admitted. She looked at me. Do you regret it? Marrying her? I asked. She nodded. I thought about it. No, I said, because regret won't change anything. And if I hadn't married her, I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't have learned what I'm willing to put up with, what I'm not. And I might not appreciate what I have now. What do you have now? She asked softly. I didn't have an answer yet, but it came. #10. I met Savannah at work. She joined our company as a project manager. Sharp, organized, quick-witted. She was 34, never married, no kids. We ended up on the same project, arguing over scope creep in a conference room. A week later, a group happy hour turned into a smaller group, then just us sharing nachos and stories. She didn't flinch when I told her I was divorced. She didn't flinch when I told her my ex had cheated. Months later, when we were sitting on my couch and the Netflix screen had gone idle, I told her the whole story. The kid wasn't mine, I said. Not biologically. She was quiet for a long time. I'm sorry, she said finally. I don't need pity, I said. It's not pity, she said. It's grief for what you went through. I'm allowed to feel that. I looked at her. You're not freaked out? I asked. By what? She said. That another human being lied to you? That you did the right thing even when it hurt? If anything, I trust you more. Most people don't see it that way, I said. You're not most people, she said. We married a year later. No big reception. Just a small ceremony at a courthouse with my parents and 2 of our closest friends. My mom cried again, but for a different reason. This is a good woman, she said afterward, taking Savannah's hands. Thank you for taking care of my boy. Actually, Savannah said, smiling, he takes pretty good care of me. When Savannah got pregnant, I smiled in a way I didn't know my face could anymore. I went to every appointment, held her hand in every waiting room. When the tech did the 20-week ultrasound, I watched the blurry gray outline of a tiny foot kick. Later, quietly, without telling her, I paid for a prenatal paternity test. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I needed to know. The results came in via secure email. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. I laughed out loud in my home office alone, not because I doubted Savannah, but because this time there were no lies hiding in the shadows. This time, I had chosen my life with my eyes open. #11. Our son was born in late October. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Red-faced, wailing, perfect. Savannah, and I named him Logan. No lofty meaning, just a name we liked. I didn't need symbolism anymore. I just wanted him to be healthy, to grow up in a house where the truth wasn't something everyone tiptoed around. My mom held Logan in the hospital, tears dripping onto the baby blanket. This is my grandson, she whispered. My real grandson. I let her say it. I knew what she meant. She wasn't erasing Jack. She was mourning and celebrating at the same time. Amanda heard about Logan through the grapevine, I guess. A week after we got back from the hospital, she texted. Congratulations, she wrote. I heard you had a baby. I'm happy for you. I stared at the message, then locked my phone and went back to holding my son. The next day, a second text popped up. Drew and I are over, she wrote. His wife found out about Jack. They divorced. Things blew up. I didn't reply. Her story felt like a movie I'd walked out of halfway through. Whatever twists and turns happened after I left the theater weren't my concern. Months later, on a warm Saturday afternoon, I was walking downtown with Savannah and Logan in a stroller when I saw them. Jack was 8 now, taller, thinner, older. He was walking with Drew. They were coming out of a bookstore, each carrying a bag. Drew saw me first. His shoulders tightened. Jack followed his gaze and froze when he saw me. Mark, Mr. Wilson, Drew said awkwardly. Jack looked between us. Hi, I said. Hi, Jack said, voice smaller than I remembered. You've grown, I said. He nodded. Savannah, sensing the tension, murmured something about checking out a coffee place down the street and pushed the stroller away a bit, giving us space. I was grateful. How's school? I asked. Good, he said. 3rd grade now. Wow, I said. 3rd grade. Time flies. Yeah. Drew shifted, clearly uncomfortable. Jack, he said. We should. Can I talk to him? Jack asked. Just for a second? Drew looked at me. I nodded. He drifted a few steps away. Jack came closer. I heard you had a baby, he said. My mom told me. Yeah, I said. His name's Logan. Can I see him? He asked tentatively. Sure, I said. We walked over to the stroller. Savannah smiled at Jack. This is Logan, I said. Logan, this is a friend of mine. Jack peered into the stroller. He's cute, he said. Thanks, Savannah said. I used to be that small? Jack asked. Smaller, I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. Here, he said. For you. I took it and unfolded it. It was a childish drawing in colored pencil. 3 people holding hands, a tall figure, a shorter one, and a little kid in the middle. Above them, in shaky handwriting, it said, Dad, I miss you. My vision blurred. Drew didn't see it, Jack said quickly. I drew it a long time ago. I just never gave it to you. I cleared my throat. Jack, I said. You know why I left, right? He nodded. Because Mom lied, he said quietly. About who my dad is. I left because my marriage was built on a lie, I said. Not because of you. You were never the problem. I still call him Dad now, Jack said, nodding toward Drew. But you're still my dad, too. In my head. I remember everything. I swallowed. Thank you, I said. For what? He asked. For remembering, I said. For not blaming me. He shrugged. I was mad. At first. But I get now. You shouldn't have had to get any of this, I said. None of this was your fault. He nodded. I'm trying to be honest, he said. Like you said. I smiled, tears in my eyes. You're doing good, I said. Keep doing that. Keep being the kid who tells the truth, even when it's hard. He hesitated, then stepped forward and hugged me. It was quick, awkward and tight, but it was everything. Then he stepped back, wiped his eyes, and went back to Drew. They walked away. I stood there with the drawing fluttering in my hand until Savannah touched my arm. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. I think I am. #####12. 5 years later, life looked completely different. Logan was 5, obsessed with dinosaurs and Legos. Savannah and I had worked our way up our respective career ladders. I'd been promoted twice. We weren't rich, but we were stable. The house Amanda and I had bought was now my family's home, decorated with Savannah's plants and Logan's artwork, not Amanda's aesthetic from Instagram. Amanda and Nancy finished paying their debt. Drew did too. That chapter of my life was closed financially. The emotional residue was complicated. Some nights, lying awake, I'd think back to those 6 years. The midnight feeds, Jack's first steps, the scraped knees I'd kissed, the bedtime stories I'd read. If I could erase the lies, but also erase those memories, would I? I never found a clean answer. I didn't know this. Those years had taught me boundaries. Had taught me that being a good man doesn't mean saying yes to everything. That being a man doesn't mean accepting every burden people place on you and smiling through it. That love without honesty is just another trap. Savannah asked me once, do you ever regret not staying in his life? As his dad, we were sitting on the back deck, watching Logan chase fireflies in the yard. I thought about it. I regret that he had to go through that pain, I said. I regret that my leaving hurt him. But, she asked gently, but I don't regret choosing myself, I said. If I'd stayed, I'd be teaching him all the wrong lessons. That line to someone is forgivable if you cry hard enough. That a man should always swallow his anger for the kids. That's not what I want him to learn, from me or anyone. He still texts you sometimes, she said. Yeah, I said. I'm glad he does. Jack was in high school now. We weren't close, exactly, but we weren't strangers. He'd text me his report cards, photos of his basketball games, random questions about college or computers. He called me Mr. Wilson, or Mark in front of others, the guy who raised me when I was little. Once, late at night, he texted, "Do you hate Mom?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Finally, I wrote, "I did for a while. Not anymore." "Why not?" he asked. "Because hate keeps you stuck," I typed. "It keeps your life revolving around someone who hurt you. I don't want to give anyone that power." "Do you hate me?" he wrote. "Never did. Never will," I replied. "You sure?" he wrote. "Yes," I answered. "You were the most innocent person in all of this." It took him 10 minutes to write back. "Thank you," he wrote. I put my phone down and went to check on Logan. He was asleep, curled around a stuffed dinosaur. I stood there in the dark room for a while, listening to his even breathing. I'd lost a son once, not by death, but by truth. Now I had another chance to do it right. Not perfect, just honest. As the years went on, I stopped thinking about Amanda and Drew except when Jack's text mentioned them. I heard, through Jack, that Amanda never remarried, that she and Nancy lived together, that Nancy's health was failing. I didn't rejoice. I didn't feel vindicated. Honestly, I felt nothing. There were chapters in a book I'd finished reading long ago. I closed it and put on the shelf. I chose to read other stories. Wake up next to Savannah. Pack Logan's lunch. Call my parents. Take my dad fishing on the lake he loved. Cook my mom her favorite pot roast. That was my life now. One Saturday afternoon, I was out in the yard tossing a foam football back and forth with Logan when he stopped suddenly. "Dad, yeah. What's the worst thing you've ever done?" he asked. It startled me. I thought of 6 years of willful blindness. "Believe a lie," I said. He frowned. "That's not something you did. That's something someone else did." "I let it happen," I said. "For a long time. I trusted when I shouldn't have. That's on me." "But trusting people is good," he said. "It is," I said. "But trusting the wrong person with everything you have, that can ruin you. So you have to be careful. Ask questions. Pay attention. The right people won't be mad that you're paying attention." He nodded slowly. "I'm never going to lie to my kids," he said with a child's certainty. "Good," I said. "That's a promise worth keeping." He grinned and shouted, "Go long," and took off across the grass. I watched him run, the late afternoon sun glowing on his hair. In another life, 6 years had been stolen from me. In this one, I was here, fully awake, fully present. Nightmare was over. This loud, messy, ordinary Saturday in an Ohio backyard. This was my real life. "Coming," I called, arming my throw, and launched the ball in a perfect spiral downfield.